On the road to MacStock with Michael D.J. Eisenberg. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by MacVoices Live, our weekly live panel discussion of what is going on in the Apple space, as well as the larger tech world, and how it is impacting you. Join us live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, or whatever time that is wherever you are, at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, and participate in the chat, or catch the edited and segmented versions of the show on the regular MacVoices channels and feeds. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, once again, we're on the road to MacStock. We are headed for Crystal Lake, Illinois in July to meet with a bunch of our friends we know, friends we haven't even met yet. And that should be the same case with you. We really want you to join us. We're going to have a terrific weekend, long weekend, in some cases a very long weekend of camaraderie and information and some great presentations. This time, I get to welcome back Michael D.J. Eisenberg, who is again a speaker at MacStock. Michael, it's great to see you.
Chuck, thanks for having me back. As always, I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in Chicago or just outside Chicago come this summer.
I'm the same way. This has become sort of a ritual for me. I only missed one, and that was because of COVID. But other than that, it's a weekend that just I beg Mike to give me the dates for the next year, because then I want to block it off so nobody else can put anything on my schedule. So we're talking, as you heard the intro and you already know, we're talking to all the speakers and asking them to talk a little bit about what they're doing, and not to deliver the presentation here, but to tell them sort of what to expect and why they want to attend your session. So your topic this year is
podcasting using your Macintosh. Back in February, I released a book, The Lawyer's Guide to Podcasting. And in it, I sort of give the generation of coming up with an idea for your podcast, recording your podcast, inviting guests to your podcast, editing your podcasts, and then distributing your podcasts. There's also a special ethics section that, quite frankly, I'm not sure the general listener would be interested in, but for lawyers, it is interesting. The first 5 sections that we talked about, though, is something that I think any new podcaster could definitely learn something from. That being said, one of the biggest concerns I believe podcasters or new podcasters have is that, well, how much do I have to invest into this? What kind of equipment do I need to get started? Is it expensive? Is it just cost prohibitive? And the answer to that, at least to start, is no. And with Apple users, you definitely have the equipment to start a podcast. That being said, that's what the presentation is going to be about. Using your Apple products to come up with the ideas, to record, to edit, to distribute. You have all the tools necessary in your Apple products to do almost all of it. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to do a walkthrough of each individual section using your Mac. And, Chuck, you had asked me earlier offline, well, what do people need to bring? Well, number one, they're going to have to bring themselves. And number two, they're going to have to bring their Apple products. I definitely encourage you to bring your laptop or your iPad. I will say this, that it's going to be a lot easier to edit on a laptop versus an iPad. Although in my first couple iterations of my podcast, The Tech Savvy Lawyer, I used a program on my iPad, and I was using my Apple Pencil to help edit down, the ums, the ahs, the air gaps, the, retakes, the redos. And I guarantee you that took a lot of time. But then as I, graduated and learned more, I found programs that allowed me to edit down more efficiently and easily. It is amazing how much time I've saved going from sort of the hand finding the problems that need to be fixed to having the computer automate most of that for me. But in either situation, you still have to have the human oversight. Whether you're doing it yourself or if you're going to have AI help you, you still have to look at the results. And AI is not the answer, it's a tool. And I think that's something that we all need to remember about, that, AI may be fantastic and may do wonderful things. And as lawyers are learning still the hard way that, the result from an AI is not the answer, but is a good starting point. And if you do not review your work, quite frankly, at some point, you're going to get in trouble. But for podcasters, at least new podcasters, I think the biggest thing that they're going to have to worry about is looking maybe a little silly. That being said, though, I'm sure that my first podcast that I released over 7 years ago is of not the best quality as it is today. That's because our skills are constantly improving, and also so is the programs and other devices we can use to make better podcasts. And I'm sure you know this, Chuck, as your show has evolved over time.
I like the fact that you're going to start out and not say, okay, we have to buy this, have to buy that, have to buy the
right.
other. The most important thing, I think, is getting started.
Right.
That said, okay, somebody says, oh, okay, so I want to do a podcast. The idea that you're going to walk them through step by step, sort of all the considerations that they need to have, I think is super valuable, and hopefully will encourage some people to give it a shot.
Well, one of the things we'll definitely do is we're going to use our Apple devices and the programs that are embedded in it to, how do we come up with an idea for our show? Now, that being said, I'm not going to tell you some of the hints and tips and tricks that I use, but I guarantee you, strike that. But I promise you, I'll do my best to give you low cost, no cost ideas and tools and tips and tricks so that, you invest very little except for time. And of course, time can be very valuable for all of us, but as we will learn to actually do it by hand, by ourselves, we'll really appreciate when we can hand off, whether it be another person or to AI to help us with the work and save the time so that we can focus on other things, either about the podcast or perhaps in our daily lives.
Yeah, I think there is the good news is that we all have so much equipment right at our disposal, sitting on our desk right now. The other good news is that there are a lot of services out there that will make podcasting easier, but they cost money, and usually they require some commitments in time. And just to get started, you don't need them. And I honestly, I sort of, in between what you just said, I think I heard that there is value in, taking that journey and then figuring out, is this, in my opinion, the biggest thing is this something I really enjoy? Because if you don't enjoy it, then, go and paint or something, because it's not something that is going to get necessarily any easier, because you're going to want to continue to improve it.
But I think our audience is, Apple enthusiasts. So, this group, our group, is going to want to use their computers. And that being said, they're going to enjoy, I think we're all going to enjoy learning how we can, use our programs, use our devices to help us with our project. And, whether you do other various hobbies or professions, the learning aspect of it's going to be fantastic. And then the other part is if you enjoy talking about a particular subject, or if you enjoy talking with people, or if you enjoy sharing your story, you're going to enjoy learning about podcasting, and you're going to enjoy actually podcasting. And then as the evolution of improving your podcast is going to be part of the adventure. It's going to be not only a learning aspect, but also fun.
I like the part of the adventure, because I agree 100% with it. My time in podcasting has absolutely been an adventure. And, the idea that, okay, I started with this, I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do this. But it means that I have to be enjoying it, because if it's not fun, then it's not fun.
But, talk about evolution real quick, just maybe to give the viewer a little bit of a heads up. When you and I think, first did our recording a couple years ago, we did it off of my Mac laptop. And also, I think I used my earbuds. And that was a great recording. Now, today, we're using my Osbot cam. which is 4K. And we're also using my Shure MV7, which happens to be right here to my left here. Even though I'm on travel, I have all the devices that I need to do this recording, whether it's the enhanced products or just even the ones built in. I can do it from almost anywhere.
Yeah. We've come a long way, because when 7 years ago, maybe, I feel like about that time frame, the hardware manufacturers and some of the software manufacturers were recognizing this as an audience that needed gear, needed software tools, needed to be addressed. And so 7 years later, give or take, we've got a lot of options.
Well, you say 7 years because that's pretty close to the whole COVID epidemic that we had to deal with. And that's when content creators really started to bloom and really get out there. And these products that come out, whether it's software or hardware, they're clearly marketed for the content creator. And being a podcaster, you are a content creator. Whether, you may not be the fancy people that you see on YouTube, but that doesn't mean you can't get there. And this would be a great way to start.
Yeah, listen, I agree. And okay, so you don't have 3 million followers or 300,000. I've never kind of worried about that, because first and foremost, I keep coming back to the same thing. It's fun. I enjoy this. And sure, would you like a bigger audience? Well, yeah, because you'd like to share the information with more people. But you don't have to have. Back in the early days, I knew a guy, and by the way, folks, this is not Guy Searle, but I knew someone who recorded a podcast every day when he drove home, and the audio content was a little questionable, the audio quality was a little bit questionable, but it was just whatever was on his mind, and he had an audience, he said, of about 100 people, but he loved that, and the people from Australia signed up, which he didn't understand. And I thought, boy, there's a real lesson for you, that he was satisfied with an audience of 100. And that's great.
And that is one of the reasons why you should consider doing this, that you're enjoying doing it. Now, on the other hand, more from a practical standpoint, and forgive me if I take this from slightly a lawyer perspective, is that by doing podcasts, whether it's on a particular topic that you do your work in, or perhaps a hobby or something completely separate, it helps improve your GEO, your generative engine optimization, because it gets you out there, it gets you into the ether, and it gives the AI material to work with in order to help push you out as being someone who should be known. And then ideally, it will integrate with all of the stuff that you do, from your podcast to your work to your other endeavors. Hopefully that makes sense.
I think it makes huge sense. And it's something, I like the idea that you aren't just saying that you have to do something about your work. You did. That's great. It can be a complete passion project, but the experience you get, the people you meet from it, it's invaluable.
The networking that you get to talk to people that you normally don't talk to. I think that's in a sense how I met you when I met others from MacStock. And remember, my podcast is the TechSavvyLawyer.page podcast. And I'm not talking to lawyers about law. I'm talking to lawyers and judges and others in the legal arena about how they use technology to improve their services, enhance their products for their clients, and ideally recapture time for themselves. Now, granted, it's not like a parody of jokes or some sort of silly, whatever YouTube show, but on the other hand, it's ancillary to what I do, and I enjoy talking about tech, as we both enjoy talking about Apple products.
Yeah, as I recall, a couple of our conversations at MacStock have cost me some money, because you showed me things like, I could really use that.
Sorry.
Well, but I've probably done it to other people too. So it's
I think we've done it all to one another. Sort of an aside, the MV7 that I have here with me today, because it was normally permanently mounted above my desk at the office, but I went to a podcast conference a couple years ago, and I happened to win the drawing for the new MV7i mic. So before I used to bring with me my Blue Yeti for travel. Now I bring my Shure MV7 just because, to be blunt, it's a slightly better mic. And, this goes back to how your tech stack will evolve over time. You don't have to do it immediately.
Yeah. I don't want to go too far down this road for some obvious reasons, both for the presentation and for the sake of the audience. But in the book, for the book, you mentioned that you have a bunch of pages about the ethics. Now,
yes,
as an attorney and for your audience, they're going to be held to those standards. But I feel like there has to be a bit of an overlap here for the general audience, maybe more general ethics. You think that's a fair statement?
Well, I think that is a fair statement. You don't want to slander anyone. You don't want to speak something that is completely false about another party. As they say, the truth is the best defense. So if you need to make sure that if you're talking about someone or you're talking about a particular company, that you do not present false information, because that could possibly get you sued. You also have to remember that when you're podcasting, you're not just podcasting to your neighborhood or just even your city or your state. You're crossing state borders, and you're also crossing international borders. So while you don't necessarily have to be an expert in all 50 states and other countries, you do need to at least take basic precautions. Now, that being said, with all due respect, I'm not offering legal advice. If you need legal advice about what you're going to be podcasting about, best to talk to a lawyer. And quite frankly, for the beginner podcaster, if you're going kind of that far in depth about the topic of what you're talking about, I would proceed very cautiously and actually talk to a lawyer about what it is you're going to be podcasting about. But if you're going to be podcasting about your favorite hamsters kind of thing, then it's rather benign. That shouldn't be a big deal. Or how you use your computers, again, that's very benign. On the other hand, if you're going to talk about legal advice, or if you're going to rail against certain political figures or celebrity figures, which there's a freedom of speech issue, of course. But on the other hand, if you're going to say false or defamatory information, that could get you at the end of a lawsuit.
Yeah.
But again, not offering legal advice.
No.
Or creating an attorney-client relationship. Forgive me. Got to throw that in there.
But listen, I completely understand, and I think it's a point well taken. That.
But because if I may, just to go back a step, the regulations and the rules that lawyers have to follow are different from state to state. They're not consistent. Some of them are consistent, but there are many nuances from state to state. There's the American Bar Association. They have the model rules, but the states base their rules on those model rules. And trust me, they make changes. And, for the lawyers, they have to know the nuances. That being said, the states have their own laws, and they may have nuances that you may not be familiar with. But, so proceed with caution. I would encourage people to look at Gordon Firemark's website. He's sort of the podcasting lawyer in the sense of content creation, legal advice, and he's a colleague of mine, and also a good person to talk with and meet.
Again, the disclaimers all make sense, and your mention of sorry.
I was going to say, which is unfortunately why I had to keep putting in those disclaimers that I keep throwing out at you, not to be not to be rude.
No, oh no.
But so I'm sorry.
No. But look, in your profession, I mean, I don't see it as a lot different than if I were interviewing a doctor, and we were talking about a particular treatment. That if he or she wanted to make disclaimers, it's like absolutely, But it's too bad we're in this politically charged environment. And that's something that a lot of people seem to feel very strongly about. And so I think the cautions that you outlined are very worthwhile to mention. It's not a case of just, I'm a fan of this football team and all the others are bums. It's a case of, you're treading on some sacred ground in a lot of people's minds. And so you have to be careful when you're doing that.
And there's also a lot of emotion as we're dealing with the political divide, and there's nothing wrong with emotion as long as you keep it in check and be the adult in the room. Because if you're not going to be the adult in the room, somebody else will be, and that could be in the form of a lawsuit.
Yeah, and that's something we definitely do not need. None of us.
Agreed.
Mike Potter has been great about giving all the speakers a code that they can share with their viewers and listeners to save a little money on going to MacStock. Your discount code is?
It's Tech Savvy Lawyer, all one word, TECHSAVVYLAWYER. And hopefully I will see you at MacStock. And if you approach me at MacStock, say, hey, Michael, I'd like to buy a copy of your book, The Lawyer's Guide to Podcasting. I'll be sure to give you a $5 discount. And as long as supplies last, I look forward to hopefully making you an owner of a copy too.
Great. There you go, folks. So we've got a double offer. So MacStock Conference and Expo is where you go to use Michael's code, Tech Savvy Lawyer. You can use his, you can use mine, which is MacVoices. Use any of the codes that you hear here on the road to MacStock from any of the speakers. Unfortunately, you can't stack them, but it will save you $50 off attending. So that'll pay for part of your plane fare, or maybe buy, well, at this point, part of a tank of gas, depending on what you drive. But
true. But since we're talking about doing podcasting, let's not forget that you have the opportunity to, while room still is available for the eCam session, the all-day eCam session. Which I'm attending because I can always improve my skills. And if you are curious about, podcasting, this might be a great little advanced course for you. I mean, the eCam people are great. They're going to start with the basics and move into the more modern advanced stuff. But even from an outside, I've never podcasted before. Remember, a podcast is both audio or video. It can be either the two or both. And eCam, which is a great program to create a studio, a TV studio, if you will, off of your laptop or computer, would be a great introduction, an advanced introduction into podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it will add one more day to MacStock, so you get one more day to hang out with all the great people. In fact, it's probably worth mentioning that right now we're using eCam to record this interview. Mm-hmm. So, it's. Yeah, honestly, Michael, I hadn't even thought about that in relation to your session. So that's perfect. That's perfect. It all fits together.
Well, hopefully I'll see you there at eCam.
Oh, you will. Oh, I signed up for that right away. Yeah, because I want to use this tool better. And unfortunately, the best way to do some of that is to let somebody help you along and teach you that really knows it. So.
And let's remind your listener that I think the seating is limited to 100. That being said, though, there's more seats available for MacStock as a whole. So don't feel that if you can't get into the eCam session, you can't get to the MacStock conference. That's not the case. The problem is that eCam, well, I shouldn't say problem, but the concern is eCam wants to make sure that they give you more of a one-on-one, even though it's not going to be exactly one-on-one, but to give you more of a personal experience while they're assisting you, because Doc Rock and Katie and the whole crew there are fantastic. And they really want to make sure that, you're being taken care of and that you're learning.
It's another great point that, they did not open this up and just say, come one, come all, that they did want to limit it. And in fact, I know they just finished off a creator camp in Birmingham, England, because they were not at NAB because they were in the UK. But yeah, they definitely want to help you use their product successfully. So there are a lot of great reasons to join us in Crystal Lake in July. Again, MacStock Conference and Expo. Michael's code is Tech Savvy Lawyer. Use it. Mine is MacVoices if you want to use that. But even if you don't use a code, get registered and join us because we want to see you there. We're going to have a lot of fun and want you to be part of it. Michael, I'll see you in a fairly short period of time here in Crystal Lake.
And Chuck, thank you again for inviting me, and I look forward to seeing you and your audience and everyone attending MacStock come this July.
Agreed. But before you go, give everyone some information about your podcast, where they can find it, and also any other social media presences you have.
Absolutely. You can find me at the techsavvylawyer.page. That's where the blog and the podcast both reside. You can subscribe to the podcast, The Tech Savvy Lawyer, at Apple Podcasts or anywhere where you get your podcast feeds. And of course, you get the Lawyer's Guide to Podcasting on Amazon. I believe if you're an Amazon Prime member, you should get your shipping for free. And the book is currently retail at $24.99.
Great.
Which you can get a $5 discount if you approach me at MacStock and say, hey, Mike, I'd like to buy a copy of the book.
Perfect. I will see you there.
I look forward to it, sir. And again, thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, Michael. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Once again, MacStockConference.com. Join me, join Michael, join all of the people you're seeing here on the road to MacStock, because we're going to have a great time. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.